Hey there, Possum Rob here, and welcome to the 4th anniversary of me taking over things here at Accidentally Derivative Studios. Hard to believe it's been 4 years, huh? We've had some great times over those 4 years, and if you've been here from the beginning, let me thank you so much for sticking around to watch a possum talk about Star Trek. And if you're just finding the channel with this video, let me thank you for clicking this thing, and I hope you enjoy the video. But with that out of the way, to celebrate 4 years, Tiffany and Company says that this is the clip show anniversary, so we've looked through the comments for the videos and grabbed out all of your favorite stuff and squished it together here. So without further ado, we kick things off with you guys' favorite cold open. Hey there, Possum Rob here. Okay, so the movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the... Hey, you can't do the Indiana Jones one yet. What? Why not? Because I ain't done writing the script yet. What? Then what am I reading on the thing? No time to explain. It don't make sense anyway. Okay. I gotta go. Take it easy, all right? Later. What the... Is this gonna be a time travel episode? Hey! McCoy sees a young woman he recognizes as Nancy. Kirk sees the same lady, only about 10 or so years older. And Darnell sees a completely different woman who he says looks like somebody he met on Wrigley's Pleasure Planet. And this dingleberry can't shut up about it. No, seriously, Dr. McCoy, your ex-girlfriend looks just like this hooker I was with just last week, and she was... And I didn't know you could even get pickles in that part of town. And then... And then here come the bagpipes, and she was all... And I was like, that's a lot of nougat, but she... But I was like, calm down. It's only Wednesday, for Christ's sake. What? Get the f*** out of here. Sulu and Riley are back on the bridge. The planet's collapse is in full swing, and they're both acting a little hinky. Suddenly, Sulu says he's going to go work out and tries to get Riley to join him. Riley don't want to get in trouble, so he turns him down. But as soon as Spock notices Sulu is missing, Riley turns into a man proud of his Irish heritage in that way that only a schmuck from Cleveland with one Irish great-grandfather can, you know? Kirk tries to explain, dude, it's not gonna happen with Rand. You gotta chill out. You gotta take things slow, and even then it may not happen. Charlie tells him he feels like everything he does is wrong and he don't know the rules. Kirk says everybody feels like that, and hey, come with me, I'm gonna teach you how to fight. Because that makes sense, right? Well, shirtless Kirk in tights demonstrates a breakfall. Kinda. And tells Charlie that you gotta learn to do that so that when you fall, you don't get hurt. Somebody got their phaser set on metaphor over here. To demonstrate, he gets his buddy Sam to throw him. And then he throws Sam. And see? No problem. Charlie says he don't want to do that. He wants to learn to fight. Kirk says, okay, let's go. Take me down. Charlie tries, but can't manage it. And Kirk ends up taking Charlie down, which don't go over so well with Chuck. Sam laughs at him, which sets Charlie off, and he does the eyeball thing, and Sam just vanishes. Kirk asks where he went. Charlie says he made him upset, and now he's gone. Charlie don't know where, he's just gone. Well, the cat's out of the bag now. Kirk calls security to take Charlie to his quarters, and Charlie mind smacks him to the ground. One pulls a phaser, and Charlie makes it go away. Kirk squares off with Charlie in a duel of the eyelights and tells him he's going to his quarters or Kirk's going to pick his ass up and carry him there. Charlie looks like he's going to buck, but ends up standing down and leaving with the security guys who are now nervously noting the color of their shirts. Cut to our boy Kevin covering the night shift in engineering. He's got his dinner there, a plate of delicious future food, and a glass of milk. See, kids? Future Star Trek people drink milk, so what's your problem? Well, feeling a little FOMO, he calls up to the rec room to see what's going on up there. Lieutenant Who Gives a Rat's Ass over here goes, "Hey, Kev, we're all having fun up here, buddy." Uhura's noodling around on a Vulcan lyre she got from Etsy, while Ed from the biolab is weirdly standing over her doing a Captain Morgan kind of thing. Ensign Horace is playing some Gallagher over there. The Knutson twins are over here playing some 3D checkers. We're all having a blast up here. Where the hell are you? I'm stuck down here in the ass end of space. That's where I am. Well, who did you piss off? Did you call Scotty a thistle-assed orangutan again? You know you're not really Irish, right? You're from Cincinnati. No, seriously, I have no idea what I did. Hey, can you get Uhura to do a song for me? Sure, what do you want to hear? Don't say it. What? I wasn't going to say Kathleen, I swear. I don't even like that song anymore. Yeah, whatever, William Hung. You're lucky they let you back into that room in the first place. I'm going to let Uhura pick something you don't know the words to, all right? Kirk calls a meeting. Spock says this thing is probably one of two things. Either a marker buoy or flypaper. Yeah, 23rd century is still having problem with flies, apparently, and technology in that area has not advanced since 1966. I mean, that's fair. It's not like we're not using essentially the same steam irons they were using back in the 60s either, right? Well, the captain don't feel too good about sticking around on the flypaper, so they make a plan to try to get away. They try it, and the cube stays right with them. Only now it's starting to emit lethal doses of radiation, too. Well, Kirk orders Bailey to blow it up, and Bailey just kind of stares at the thing. Kirk jars Lieutenant Dunsel over there out of his repose, and he finally does his job and blows up the D6 from hell. Kirk ain't too happy with how the crew performed in that little incident, so he orders the bridge crew to run some simulations to get their skills up while he goes and decides if they should keep going or not. And the crew all look at Bailey and go, 2 words, Dingleberry, code red. Spock arrives with the Enterprise's computer records of the event, and while Commodore Stone is queuing up the tape, Finney's 25-year-old teenage kid Jamie comes in and freaks out on Kirk, calling him a murderer and all this, and breaks down sobbing. Understandable, it's always hard on a young lady when her father gets squirted out of the side of a starship in an ion storm. You know how that goes. So anyways, Stone tells Spock to take the kid out of the room and then tells Kirk that the record shows that Kirk ejected the pod before declaring a red alert, and he's confined to the base while an investigation is conducted to see if they're going to need to do a court-martial. Well, as they say, word travels fast on a starbase, and when Kirk and McCoy head down to the M11 Starbase Club, you can almost hear the record scratch sound as everybody turns and gives the stink eye to Kirk. One of the guys from his graduating class tells him, "Hey, way to go murdering that guy." Kirk goes, "Yeesh, tough room," and leaves. And just as he leaves, a real Shaw arrives. McCoy immediately makes the connection, hot chick must be looking for Kirk. He is, of course, right, and he awkwardly tells her that all of his friends are ugly. Okay. Want to get a drink? Now, this isn't a rumination so much as just an interesting bit of trivia, but it doesn't really go anywhere else. The whole reason the mind meld even exists is because NBC's Broadcast Standards Department sent a note expressing concern with using hypnosis to get the information out of Dr. Van Gelder, which was the original plan. They said, quote, "In accordance with the precautions to avoid hypnotizing a viewer, the act of hypnotizing must be either out of context or done off camera. Further, since you are portraying hypnotism as a legitimate medical tool, Van Gelder should be hypnotized by Dr. McCoy rather than Mr. Spock, unless Mr. Spock can be established as being qualified in the use of this technique." Not only is it funny that they wanted to make sure that it's clear to the audience of a show with people going through space and fighting salt vampires and whatnot that hypnosis is not something that should be attempted by anyone other than a medical professional, they were honestly concerned that Star Trek would inadvertently hypnotize people watching the show. But as goofy as that is, and it is very, very goofy, it's funny how it led to one of the most iconic aspects of Spock's character and Vulcans in general, and would shape so much of Star Trek lore even up to today. Weird, right? But then it happens again at the end when Bad Kirk tries to leave orbit and abandon the Sulu Sickle and his buddies. Spock's all, "Are you sure? I thought we talked about this." How was there even a moment's hesitation there? As soon as he came on the bridge all confident and projecting from the diaphragm that they're taking off and whatnot, Spock should have been pinching necks like a vampire sock puppet. Everybody knew about the imposter at that point, and no one could possibly think Kirk cutting crew members loose like that was normal behavior. It's a little weird. Then, Boma starts wanting to plan a funeral for Latimer and Gaetano because, hey, there's time to dig holes and arrange catering and stuff, right? It ain't like time is of the essence or nothing. Well, back on the Enterprise, some of the search parties are coming back with murder monkey spears in them. And Countdown Curtis over here tells Kirk his time is up, and he's assuming command according to yada yada yada. Well, Kirk calls the search parties back and tells the Columbus to come back to the barn. On the planet, Scotty has finished transferring all the phaser's energy into the Galileo. He says the ship will be ready to go in 8 minutes. Spock tells McCoy and Boma they have exactly that amount of time to bury Latimer and Gaetano. 8 minutes ain't a lot of time to bury two guys, so Spock will chip in. Well, the Enterprise breaks orbit and slow rolls their exit, keeping the sensors pointed back at Taurus 2. The funeral service is crashed by the murder monkeys and everybody has to run back to the shuttle. Spock gets pinned under a rock thrown by the murder monkeys, and despite his protests that they should leave him and take off, McCoy and Boma get him freed and they make it back to the Galileo. The murder monkeys try to hold the Galileo down and keep it from taking off, and Spock has to hit the boosters to get out of there. They escape, but since they used up so much fuel using the boosters, they're not going to be able to soft land once the fuel runs out. If they don't get rescued, they're going to burn up on re-entry. Well, they make it into orbit, and Scotty says they have about 45 minutes before they're toast. Spock says they probably screwed everybody by going back for him. Scotty reminds Spock that he said that there were always alternatives. Spock says, yeah, we'll alternate this, and he hits the fuel jettison button. There's your alternative. The rest kind of freak out about it, but as the fuel squirts out, it ignites, making a big glowing trail behind the shuttle. Scotty is impressed, saying it's like sending up a flare. Whether Spock intended to do that, or if he was just trying to cut down on the amount of time he had to listen to everybody bitching about everything before burning up, he keeps that to himself. So the message of this episode is, believe in yourself, and that will make you more attractive. Believing in yourself, that's a good message. But I'm not sure I'm on board with the "and that will make other people like you better" back half of that. I'd feel more comfortable with it if it was more like believe in yourself, and if you're interested in attracting anybody else at all, chances are they'll be the right kind of person for you. That would just sit better with me. Whether Eve believes in herself or not, she's stuck on a planet with one guy she just met and who hasn't exactly made the greatest first impression. And nobody's worried about how attractive Childress is to her, you know? By the message's logic, that guy clearly don't believe in himself at all, as ugly a person as that guy is. And I know this is early on in the whole Star Trek thing, but even the best version of this message seems a little, pedestrian for Star Trek. Usually the messages have a bit more philosophical and moralistic oomph to them, you know? This feels like an after-school special that should have Maureen McCormick and a handful of Van Pattens in it or something. After Where No Man and Corbomite, this one just feels kind of small. Kirk points out that just 4 androids in a cave ended up breaking down and murdering people, so what does he think is going to happen with a civilization of millions of crazy killbots? Corby sees the problem and hands over his phaser. Andrea is there with her lawn sprinkler, and she's not surrendering so easy. She professes her love of Corby because once Kirk breaks that seal, girl bots be loving him, alright? Corby says sadly that's impossible, you can't love. She moves in to kiss him, and while they're kissing, Corby pulls the trigger on her lawn sprinkler, and in the one and only episode of Star Trek to be resolved with a murder-suicide, interesting choice for a 60s show, they are vaporized. Spock shows up with 3 guys and is all, what I miss. As you might expect, I don't got a lot of goof for this one. The main thing is honestly this. How does this guy still have a friggin' job? This dude is the most insubordinate jackass. He is openly racist and hostile towards Spock, the second in command of his vessel, a number of times, all but calls Kirk a coward at one point, screwed a motion of court-martial. How is this guy not seeing the wrong side of an airlock by the end of this episode? You gotta be kidding me. First of all, in what world does DeSalle think he's being stealthy, sneaking up on Trelane in front of a giant friggin' mirror? DeSalle can see himself in the friggin' thing. I mean, if you want to attack the guy while he's looking straight at you, that's fine. Go for it. But don't be trying to sneak up on the guy slowly. What the hell sense does that make? I will say that I love that DeSalle just has it in for Trelane. Something about Trelane really rubs this guy the wrong way. Almost from jump, he's trying to murder the guy. Both Kirk and Sulu have to step in at different times to stop the French conniption over here from throwing down. And how many times does Trelane need to freeze your ass before you knock it off? DeSalle needs to report to the ship's counselor for some anger management work or something. Kirk pulls out his recorder thing and starts a log entry. Go with what you know, right? As he's recording, though, we see that the Gorn can hear him. The Gorn don't let on, though. He just monitors what Kirk is saying. He's a monitor lizard. Anyway, Kirk finds some friggin' huge diamonds on the surface, but says he'd trade them all for a phaser or a Louisville Slugger, preferably Mickey Mantle model. He mentions the Metron said there would be weapons, but he don't know what they meant, and he don't see nothing around. But he better figure it out pretty quick. Cut to our iguana friend, and he's found what looks like obsidian or something, and is chipping it down to a nice stabby shape. Kirk spots him from way up above, and considering he got an A in Roadrunner Coyote Combat at the Academy, spots a precariously balanced boulder right in the perfect spot above Wile E. Komodo Dragon down there, and he lets it fly. And he nails him. Boom! From way to hell downtown. Khan asks for the viewing screen to turn on, and it ain't clear who does it this time, but it does turn on, and we see what's happened to Kirk. Khan has had him taken down to the ship's laundromat and thrown in the dryer. Khan says, I've got it set on delicates. If none of you joins me soon, I will up the setting to cottons. And you do not want to see what happens when it gets to bulky items. I need this ship to pick a planet for us to live on with a population what's okay with being, let's call it slave adjacent. He says the longer they hold out, the more people are going to go in the dryer, and he is not a man who believes in fabric softener. MacGyver's asks if she can skip out on laundry day, and Khan says, fine, but you're unloading the dishwasher and loading it with the dishes from the sink. She says that's fair, and she walks out. After she leaves, the view screen goes dark. Joaquin thinks Uhura did it and is about to hit her again, but Khan says don't bother, Kirk's already dead by now. He tells another of his droogs to go and take Kirk out so he don't get too wrinkled, and Mr. Spock is looking a little damp, so take him down and throw him in next. MacGyver gets to the laundromat and tells the guy that Khan don't want Kirk all the way dry because he don't want him to shrink too bad. As the guy is looking in the dryer, she hits him with a hypo and knocks him out. She opens the dryer and pulls the captain out. After picking up the guard's phaser and pulling off the sock that was static clinging to his shirt, MacGyver pleads for Kirk not to kill Khan. Before Kirk can say, are you friggin' kidding me? The other guard comes in with Spock. As they enter the dryer room, Kirk engages the guard enough for Spock to nerve pinch him. Now that's a real nerve pinch. Spock tells Kirk the situation. Kirk says they got to get to the intruder control circuits. Spock says there's a place to access those down the corridor. Kirk says, cool, gas all the decks but this one, and I'll go tie up the bad guys when they pass out. Spock goes, what is that, fresh linen? Kirk's like, yeah, there was an old dryer sheet in there. You like it? Yeah, not too perfumey, it's good. Kirk says, yeah, right, I like it. Okay, let's go. They walk up to the plants, and she says she was the first one to find them and calls them the spores. Suddenly, Spock gets a shot of confetti in the face from the flower, and it really messes him up. Layla's starting to think she might have goofed up, but suddenly the tense music shifts to a more tranquil tune, and Spock has completely turned into Dino Valente over here. Layla talks about he's one of them now, and Spore Spock, Spork, professes his love for her and then kisses her. Come on, people now. After a commercial break, Sandoval reiterates that he and his fellow spore monkeys ain't going nowhere, and Kirk maintains that he's not correct about that. Sulu and Dude come up, and as Kirk is giving them orders about moving the spore monkeys, he realizes he ain't seen Spock or DeSalle in a while. He calls Spock up on the phone, and we cut to Spock's phone ringing, but he don't care. He somehow found a spore monkey coverall under a bush or something and is looking at clouds while lounging around on Layla. He kind of laments that he's never appreciated clouds and rainbows and whatnot as beautiful before. As he's appreciating Layla, she answers the phone for him. Kirk wants a report and Spock tells him to cram it. He's busy. McCoy wisely points out that this is not typical behavior for Spock. He really is a doctor. Then they tell Kirk he attacked the body, and he needs to be absorbed, so he's got to come with them. Kirk says, no. You get the feeling that these guys don't hear no very often, so they huddle up, presumably trying to decide what to do now. He said no. He said no? He said no. They can't say no. Well, apparently they can. He said no? You were standing right there, Frank. I was thinking of something. Well, what does the manual say to do when they say no? That ain't in the manual. The manual says they always say yes. It ain't in the manual? It ain't in the manual. Well, tell him again. I told him twice. He said no twice. He said no twice. He said no twice. What the hell, right? Well, Brigham Short over here says that they was from the valley. Maybe he can't understand your accent. You got a city accent. I don't got a shitty accent. City. You got a city accent. Say it like a valley guy. Go. I can't do the voices thing, Frank. I ain't no good at that. No, you're good at it. You can do a killer Kermit the Body. I don't want to do it in front of these guys. Well, we got to do something. It's 1/2 the purple hour, for Landrew's sake. We got to get going. Maybe I used too many words or something. I'll dumb it down for this guy. So the Lawgivers rephrase that they order Kirk and his people to go with them to what he calls the absorption chamber. Cut to Scotty setting up a meth lab in the reactor room. Kirk asks how it's going, and Scotty says it'll work, but not for long. Spock calls Kirk to let him know the red shirts are ready to get their pep talk and their last rites and whatnot and get to work. So we cut to 6 red shirts led by Commander Giotto, who is drawing really, really good circles on a notepad, and including Lieutenant Leslie, who is probably perturbed that he's pulling monster bait duty since he's a bridge officer. Never trust recruitment officers, kids. Kirk tells them we don't know what you're looking for, but when you see it, shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. Spock asks Vandenberg what level they found the silicon balls on. It's level 23, so Kirk tells them to start looking there. And off they go. Giotto leads 2 red shirts, including Leslie, through the tunnels, and elsewhere we see Kirk and Spock doing the same. Spock whips out the tricorder and seems to be picking something up, so they go and check it out. Cut to Ensign Heinrich von Roteshemd over here, off by himself like a schlemiel, and it's only seconds before we get the POV shot of doom, and it's time to increment the counter. Kirk and Spock beam down to a Renaissance fair, and nobody freaks out that 2 dudes in space duds just appeared next to the beer tent. Suddenly, a dude in a smock shows up and greets our boys. Says his name's Aelborn. Kirk intros himself and Spock, both of whom awkwardly try to emulate the Organian "hey, how's it going" gesture. It's nice they tried, though, I guess. Aelborn offers to take them to the council chambers. These places always have councils, have you noticed that? Anyways, on the way there, Spock says he wants to look around the Renaissance fair, maybe pick up some cinnamon honey or a turkey leg, see if the glass blower can do a say-lot. Aelborn hands him a free kiss card and sends him on his way. In the council room, Kirk states the situation. The Klingons are coming, and he's there to stop them from taking over Organia and using it as a base, and maybe seeing about getting them to let him have a base instead. Aelborn says, so we have a choice, you or these Klingon peoples. And Kirk says, no, with the Klingons, there ain't no choice. They'll take over, they'll put your people in labor camps, they'll kill people indiscriminately, they'll make it so you can only listen to Dostoevsky audiobooks read by Carol Channing, all kinds of nasty stuff. So Kirk, Spock, and 4 red shirts beam down to Vasquez Rocks and start looking for this week's guest star. Right around where Kirk found the potassium nitrate last week, the team spots a ship that's on loan from the Jetsons. Looks like it might be crashed or something. As they're checking it out, some kind of space hobo shows up and seems really happy to see everybody. Says something about needing to, quote, stop him, whoever him is, and hoping that there's still time. Then he falls off of a rock. The boys run over there and find that he's alive, unconscious, and appears to have a tribble with mange taped to his face. As Kirk and Edith are leaving the mission later on, they cross the street and she mentions that they need to hurry if they're going to catch the Clark Gable movie. Kirk says he don't know who the hell that is, and she mentions that there's a Dr. McCoy who also doesn't know who the hell that is. At McCoy's name, Kirk gets really excited and asks about him. She says he's in a mission. Kirk tells her to stay right there and runs across the street back to the mission and yells for Spock. Spock comes out, and hearing Spock's name being yelled by Kirk, McCoy comes out too, and they have a joyous reunion. Yay! Now everything's going to be just fine. Oh, wait. Well, Vina realizes why the illusions haven't been working on Pike, because they're all things that he's done before. He's a starship captain, so none of this is fantastical in any way. Maybe if it was something he wanted to do but couldn't, maybe that would work better. Not sure whose side Vina is on here, but you remember when he told Boyce he wanted to be a slave trader? Well, suddenly we're on the set of The King and I, and Vina is now a green stripper. Yeah, too cerebral, they said. Pike just kind of sits decked out in bling with a dumb look on his face at a table with two creepy guys. One of them Starfleet for some reason, and all of them appreciating Vina's dancing. Again, for the doofs in the audience, Kirk asks Crispy Pike if that's Vina. Pike lets out a hilariously long beep. Mendez helpfully lets us know that Orion slave girls, which is what Vina is made up as here, are irresistible to human males. Thank you, Commodore As You Know Mendez. Kirk pokes fun at McCoy about the rabbit, and McCoy says, "Oh, you got jokes? Well, here's a joke for you. A set of giant rabbit tracks. What do you think about that?" Kirk is like, "Okay, yeah, that's weird." So he calls up to the ship and puts shore leave on hold. McCoy says, "Really?" Kirk is like, "Dude, there's supposed to be no animals down here, and now there's tracks of a 6-foot friggin' bunny rabbit? What else is down here what ain't supposed to be? What are you, nuts?" Suddenly, a gunshot rings out, like a gunpowder, lead, splody kind of gun, you know? They find Sulu squeezing a few into the lake from what he calls an old-time police special that he just found on the ground. For some reason, finding a loaded antique Earth pistol on an alien planet what ain't even supposed to have animal life on it don't seem hinky to our boy here. Kirk confiscates the mystery pistol, and Barrows notices more giant bunny tracks. Cut to the planet, and we're in the middle of a conversation between the real Kirk and Spock. Kirk asks if Spock can, quote, do it. Spock says he'll try. Well, what he's doing is attempting a mind meld with the guard through the wall in order to control the guy and get him to open the door. So Spock cozies up to the wall that looks like it's got that popcorn sealant stuff on it and gets to work on connecting to the Conehead's Wi-Fi. The connection is good, and pretty soon he's zombie walking into the parlor, and Kirk brings the choppy chop, and now he has a Conehead costume, ho ho ho. Kirk says we gotta find our phones and contact the ship, and we need more than just this guy's gun, so we're gonna have to smack some more Coneheads. The whole gang creeps around and comes upon a microwave that's already cooking up some piping hot Conehead souffle. They watch the guy kiss his wife, get in the microwave, another Conehead sets it to Conehead, and hits start. When it opens back up, no Conehead. Spock hits us with an as you know kind of line, pointing out that the microwave appears to be killing people. He ain't the best science officer in Starfleet for nothing, folks. They put the splat monster in a room with a bright-ass light and the chair from the neural neutralizer. Goggles on and fried splat monster. Now, Kirk says, we gotta put a dude what's got splat monster crud in him in the room and give him a tan. Gotta know if it'll work, like right now. Spock says, I'll do it. Let's do it right now. I'm good to go. Why wait? This sucks. Let's roll. McCoy is like, that's a lot of light. Kirk says, nope. There's no other way. Let's do it right now. McCoy says, you've convinced me. It's the only thing we can do. So Spock jumps in the chair. McCoy puts the tanning bed on high, and presto. Spock ain't got no splat monster crap in him no more. And he's also blind. Completely and irrevocably blind. Permanent blindness. Never see again. Tragic, really. Can't even use the little eyeball viewer at the science station no more. He loved that thing. Literally 5 seconds later, Chapel comes in with the results of the test on the dead splat monster. McCoy reads them, and of all the dumb luck, it turns out you only need to hit people with a spectrum of light that humans and Vulcans can't even see to cure them of the splat. Spock didn't need to be blinded at all. Well, crap. Cut to the Enterprise laying out the satellites needed to zap the splat monsters down on the planet. They turn them on and the splat monsters melt like cotton candy in the shower. Uhura gets a call from the surface saying the plan is working perfectly. Kirk calls down to sickbay and tells McCoy to tell Spock that the plan worked. He also tells him that it wasn't his fault. It don't cheer him up none. In the epilogue, as Kirk is preparing his report to Starfleet, who should show up just looking at stuff like a champ but the no longer blind Spock? Saints be friggin' praised! Turns out Vulcans have something called utter horseshit, or an inner eyelid, that made it so that the blindness was only temporary. Something about the Vulcan sun being so bright they evolved it, but they totally forgot about it like humans did their appendix. Kirk is like, did getting your sight back give you any emotions, huh? Oh, never mind. Lay in a course for season 2 and hit it. We roll credits. To be honest, I'd forgotten about a couple of these and kind of embarrassed myself laughing at my own crap. But you know, it ain't just me over here. Over these 4 years, I've also introduced you to some of my cousins. Now, I'm no dummy when it comes to science, but I got a cousin who's a real egghead. So I figured I'd bring him in to talk about this one. So let me introduce you to Possum Science. How you doing, P.S.?
I am well, Rob. All systems nominal. I hope you are the same.
I'm making it. So you was talking about this very thing at the cookout last weekend, so I figured I'd get you on the show to talk about the asteroid field in this episode.
Absolutely, Rob. I'm delighted you were paying attention. The deliciousness of your mother's tater salad, as she calls it, can be quite distracting.
No kidding, right?
In even the most congested areas of our own asteroid belt, the average distance between rocks is some 600,000 miles, almost 3 times the distance between your Earth and its moon. Therefore, one would be hard-pressed to find a point within the asteroid belt where one could even see more than one asteroid at a time. Indeed, it is quite conceivable that Mr. Mudd could have successfully traversed his asteroid field without even realizing he had done so.
That's perfect. I knew it was a good idea to get you on. Thanks so much, P.S. Listen, we're going to do a lot of these, so I may need to call on you from time to time. Hope that's okay.
Of course, Rob. Feel free to call on me anytime, any space.
All right, take it easy, P.S. Later. Did he say your Earth? Hey there. Okay, folks, this is my cousin, Possum Wizard. How you doing, Wiz?
I'm doing well, young Rob. I trust you are the same?
Yeah, okay.
House of the Dragon. I, and many others like-minded, believe that as soon as Benioff and Weiss ran out of Martin's books, the Game of Thrones show went somewhat downhill.
That's being generous. It went to hell so fast you'd think it played for the Mets.
Just so. With that in mind, when another Game of Thrones show was announced, I wasn't exactly ecstatic. But this has been rather good. The time jumps make for a little bit of confusion, and I admittedly have not read the book that it's based on, so I don't know how faithful it is. But what I've seen has been entertaining, the characters compelling, and the plot well executed. Now, it's not for everyone. Parental discretion is advised, as they say. Strongly. But if you're into, well, Game of Thrones sorts of things, then I believe you will enjoy yourself with this. Wheel of Time. I watched this show. Well, I believe that's all I have for you, young Rob.
Which is to point a giant tartan and thistle-covered arrow at Scotty with the words, "Note, this individual comes from Scotland," written on it. You know what? Let's ask my cousin, Possum Mac. Hey, Mac, what did you think of all of this sudden, supposedly very Scottish dialogue coming from our boy Scotty here?
I'd say it was maybe a bit over after buggery, Ken. Fair clarity in old Clush McClaver and tartan paint pish, which fair gives me the dry boch. But you know what? Have I had a fond wee nudge for Scotty, aye? And yours dayin' but tip my bonnet to the late big man himself, Jimmy Doohan. Great blood, that yen. Ach.
Right. See? Yeah, thanks, Mac.
Hey, Rob, mind yourself.
They're a weird bunch, but they're family. And I don't gotta tell yous, possum families are huge, so don't be surprised if a couple more show up down the line. So there you have it. 4 years of watching stuff with me, Possum Rob. And here's to 4 more. Maybe we'll get to the end of TOS by then. You know I can't make no promises, but I'm gonna do my best. If you dug the trip on the Wayback Machine, hit that like button for me. Helps the channel out tremendously. And if you ain't subscribed yet, please consider hitting that button too, so you don't miss none of the excitement of watching stuff with me. If you're feeling monetarily generous, we got channel memberships where you get some exclusive audio commentary tracks for Babylon 5 and The Expanse, plus early access to the new stuff. And over at adstudiosmerch.com, we got all your possum needs covered, from these handsome new lapel pins to the ever-popular Watchin Stuff coffee mugs. Clearly, possum friends love that Java. But most of all, I just appreciate that you took the time to hang out with your possum here, and I hope you had a great time. So until next time, possum friends are awesome friends. Take it easy, all right? Later.